Warriors fans are talking. Before we get into today's episode of Warriors Today by Chat Sports, fans are talking. They want a big move made for the Golden State Warriors. Should Mike Dunleavy be fired if that move does not come about and put the Warriors back into championship contention, giving Steph Curry an opportunity to win a fifth NBA championship? Let me know down in the comments section. Type Y for yes, type N for no if Golden State should fire Mike Dunleavy if he can't pull off a big trade. Welcome into Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I am Tyler Smith, filling in for Chase Sr., who has gone on vacation. Going to have you guys here for the next couple of videos. Today we're talking about the top three Warriors trade targets after they've made the Buddy Hield sign-in trade, after they've signed Kyle Anderson, and the signing of De'Anthony Melton, all coming after Klay Thompson's departure to the Dallas Mavericks. Let's hop right into this. And number one is no surprise here, right? Lauri Markkanen. This is the only player, I believe, that Golden State could become a serious contender with if they were to make the deal for him. Now, obviously, we know the Warriors have been heavily linked to Lauri Markkanen throughout this offseason after the trade for Paul George fell through. The Warriors have pivoted their attention to Lauri Markkanen to try to create a sharpshooting duo with Steph Curry there in this Warriors offense. Seven-footers don't come along very often. And Chris Haynes of TNT has said that the Warriors have been the aggressors in the Lauri Markkanen trade sweepstakes. Obviously, we know the San Antonio Spurs are a part of it. Other teams have also come into the fold. Philadelphia 76ers, Sacramento Kings have talked about making a Lauri Markkanen deal as well. But this is a can't-miss opportunity for Golden State. Obviously, with a player like Lauri's stature, he can move laterally at a good rate. He can move within an offense, come off of screens, pull up for jumpers, hit that step-back three from time to time. And just over the past couple of seasons, we've seen the ascension of Lauri Markkanen in this NBA from being originally drafted by Minnesota and obviously going in that deal to the Bulls for Jimmy Butler and then making his way to the Cavaliers. He actually really started to showcase his ability there in Cleveland, obviously upping his points per game up to 15 a night, 36% from three, but that has only gotten better since his trip to Utah, become a 25-point-per-game scorer. Obviously dipped a little bit last year, but the efficiency there went up just a little bit. And Lauri Markkanen is just one of these guys who can fit in this Golden State Warriors offense. If you look at his advanced shooting here, he is knockdown. Catch and shoot three-point percentage at 42%. Corner three, he's shooting it at a 43% clip. His above the break three at 39%, which is one of the highest marks in the NBA. And half of his shot diet, 49.3% of his field goal attempts are from beyond the arc. And at a true shooting percentage of 63.1%, this is one of the most knockdown guys in the NBA. But the only way that Golden State could probably, in my opinion, make a deal for Lauri Markkanen is if Jonathan Kuminga is in the trade package. We've seen that the Sacramento Kings recently have made a pretty good trade offer to the Utah Jazz for Lauri Markkanen. Now that the Jazz have not bit on that yet, we know Danny Ainge is one of the stiffest negotiators in the entire NBA. He's looking to get a deal. He's looking to get value back in a deal for his big superstars, and Lauri Markkanen is no exception. The only way I see Golden State making a deal that Utah is ecstatic about is if they trade Jonathan Kuminga to Utah. So I just don't see a package where you package like Andrew Wiggins, Moses Moody, and picks for Lauri Markkanen, and that gets done anytime soon. The second that Golden State is willing to offer up Jonathan Kuminga in this deal, I think Utah is looking to entertain those phone calls just a little bit more. But let me know down in the comment section, would you give up Jonathan Kuminga in a Lauri Markkanen trade? Type T for trade, type P for pass. I'm hesitant on the idea, but I think when you have a blue-chip prospect like Lauri Markkanen who could really elevate this Golden State offense to the next level, to championship contending level, I think you got to make the deal. We don't know what Jonathan Kuminga could be yet, but we know what Lauri Markkanen is, and that's a 7-foot demigod who's a sniper from beyond the arc. Next up, we have Brandon Ingram. Now, this is definitely one of those players who hasn't really reached the ceiling that people have wanted to, right? Now, will Golden State pivot if the Lauri Markkanen trade falls through? I'm not so sure. Will they be content with going into next season with the current roster that they have? I'm not sure about all that, but I know that Golden State has to give Steph Curry the best opportunity to win a championship next season in the final years of Steph Curry's prime and the final years of his career, quite frankly, because the guy is 36. And Brandon Ingram is a guy who can score on the wing and get that job done. If you look at what he did last season, it's a little bit of a down year for Brandon Ingram, but we've seen him at that 24, 25 point per game mark. 21 a game last year, has kind of become an underrated playmaker, averaging 6 dimes a game and a pretty efficient shooter from the field. More of that mid-range assassin than a definite three-point sniper like Lauri Markkanen would be. But Brandon Ingram is a guy who can get his shot from anywhere. And if you think about the Warriors roster right now, they don't really have that elite shot creator on the wing that Brandon Ingram would kind of provide for this Warriors roster. Now, what would it take for Golden State to potentially package up a Brandon Ingram trade? I think it would be Andrew Wiggins, Gary Payton II, and 2 first-round picks. I saw a couple of mock trades from the Sacramento Kings end of things because they seem to be like the number one option for a Brandon Ingram trade right now. And I saw a mock trade that said Harrison Barnes, Kevin Huerter, and 2 first-round picks. I think that's probably equivalent to this deal right here for Andrew Wiggins, GP2, and 2 firsts. Would I probably give that up? I'm not so sure, because if Brandon Ingram's contract is $36 million right now, that is a figure that I am comfortable paying him. But you see that he's going to be an unrestricted free agent in 2025. He's in the last year of his deal, and he's one of those guys where he's going to want a bigger paycheck. He's eligible for a 4-year, $208 million extension. That's $52 million a year, and I'm not so sure I want Golden State pigeonholing themselves, paying Brandon Ingram the second most on their payroll, because I don't think Brandon Ingram is necessarily a number 2 option on a championship team right now. But at the end of the day, you do have to get better. You have to make Steph Curry, you have to respect Steph Curry and what he's done for this Warriors organization over the past 15 seasons. But I don't know if Brandon Ingram is necessarily a guy that pushes you over that championship edge. And last up, Zach LaVine. I don't necessarily know if Zach LaVine is going to be a guy who pushes this Warriors team over the top either. And he's on a bad contract. He's got definitely more years than Brandon Ingram on that deal. And his value is kind of plummeted, right? We've seen the Chicago Bulls be rejected by other teams around the league, sending LaVine and a first-round pick to sweeten the deal to potentially get some assets back. And no teams have really budged so far. If you look at Zach LaVine's contract here, the guy's making borderline $50 million in the next over the next 3 seasons. 43 next year, 46 the year after, and then 49 in 2026-27. He's got that player option for that year, and based on what Zach LaVine has given you over the past couple of seasons, it looks like he would probably be willing to accept that player option. Also has a 15% trade kicker, so that salary would even go up if you were to trade for Zach LaVine. But over the past 3 seasons, we've actually seen a pretty decent decline from Zach LaVine. Go back to 2020-2021 season, he's averaging 27 a game. You look like he's one of the most ascending 2 guards in this league, a guy who can get a shot from anywhere, shoots a 3 at a super high clip, 42% in that year, but it has only gone down as the years progress. 24 in 2021-22 on a 39% clip. Still great. I'd love if the Warriors could pick up a player of that caliber. The next season after that, 22-23, 25 points again, slightly decreased 3-point percentage. And then you go back to last season where he only played 25 games, and those 25 games were brutal, not even eclipsing the 20-point per game mark and shooting very inefficiently from the field. It just seems like Zach LaVine is one of those guys who, if you look at him on the court, his mannerisms, his actions just don't seem like he's into the winning brand of basketball. It looks like he's going out to get his guy who's going out there and scoring his big buckets against the Charlotte Hornets, high volume games that really push those percentages up. But if you really want to win basketball games, Zach LaVine is just not the guy who is going to push you to that next level. And Golden State declined a deal for LaVine just a couple of days ago. If you look at what Golden State declined here, this is not the exact framework. We don't know what per se was said on the phone between Mike Dunleavy and the Bulls front office. But overall, this is what you can piece together from what Golden State declined. And Zach LaVine for Andrew Wiggins and Chris Paul. Unfortunately, Chris Paul was waived after that. They said that most likely the Golden State was not going to accept a deal for Zach LaVine for these 2 players, and they ended up waiving Chris Paul in the deal. So honestly, this deal really can't be made anymore. Without the contract of Chris Paul, that $30 million that was on the books for Golden State, a Zach LaVine trade for Golden State is likely impossible without including Draymond Green in his contract. And even then, it just doesn't seem like that would be a viable option for Golden State. You lose a ton of depth in the front court if you were to trade Draymond. And I think even with the antics and the inefficiencies on offense that Draymond has provided the past couple of seasons, I think his value far exceeds that of Zach LaVine. But let me know who you want to trade for. I think we're going to get a resounding answer in the comments section. But if you would like to trade for Lauri Markkanen, type LM in the chat. For Brandon Ingram, give me a BI. And then Zach LaVine, type ZL down below. As always, subscribe to Warriors Today. We're bringing you nonstop coverage this entire offseason, trade rumors, signings. We're the first to have it right here on Warriors Today. You're not going to want to miss out, so subscribe to the channel, youtube.com/WarriorsTV.